So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk AAC, an introduction. This is the first part in a four-part series we're really excited to bring you. Just a little bit about this presentation and this grant. So we are able to create these workshops with help from funding from Ability Central. And we created this series of webinars for professionals serving persons with communication needs. But we also thought it was really important to include parents, caregivers, and anyone else that is in that realm there on the daily. So just a list of the other webinars that are coming up in the series. Next up is AAC Parents and Professionals Working Together. Then we're going to do AAC for Transition Age Youth and Adults. And then finally, AAC Ask the Experts, which is this one's probably my favorite. This is our two adult AAC users and our speech language pathologist, which you'll meet in a moment. And it's going to be a panel where they frequently asked questions and give you some real insight into AAC. So I'm Laura Martinez. I am the Assistive Technology Program Manager at TAS. And I'll let Liz introduce herself.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Ortega, Assistive Technology Specialist at TAS. And we have with us today, Bernadette.
Good morning, Bernadette Kennard. I am a licensed speech language pathologist. I work as an AAC consultant and I provide consultations for TAS as well.
And we have two advisors, which is Kim Bong and Carrie Adamic Curtis. Kim is an AAC user mentor since 1998.
Sorry, I hit admit and it went away. There you go. Can you see it, Liz?
Sorry. She works at Tichenor Clinic for Children as community liaison and as an ambassador liaison. And as an ambassador for PRC, and she is a board member for Harbor Regional Center and a commissioner for disabilities for the city of Long Beach. Carrie is an AAC user who has been a PRC ambassador for 30 years. She is the author of Doubt Your Doubts, the essential guide to overcoming life's challenges and achieving your full potential. And before we get started, I want to let you know who we are. TAS is a nonprofit. We serve 6 counties in Southern California. We are a parent training and information center. We educate and empower people with disabilities and their families to become effective communicators and self-advocates.
Sorry, my mouse is acting up.
Our disclaimer is that TAS staff are not advocates or attorneys. We do not provide recommendations, legal advice, or suggestions. Our family support specialists offer peer-to-peer support, information, and options to parents of children with disabilities so they can become informed members of the IEP team and work collaboratively with schools. Our family support specialist services. Our family support specialists help families understand the special education process by providing one-on-one phone consultations, virtual IEP consultations, and review of documentations, assistance with letter writing. They offer a variety of educational webinars, support for military families, information and resources. And within our tech center, we offer a variety of assistive technology webinars. We also offer individualized online lab appointments via Zoom. If you're looking for specific apps, websites, software, we can schedule a 1-hour appointment and we can show you what we have. We also offer assistive technology consultations in clinics. For our AAC services, Augmentative Alternative Communication, we have Project Communicate, in which we offer a free 1-hour AAC consultation with Bernadette. If you're interested or have more information, need more information regarding our free 1-hour consultation, you can contact me. And we have the Let's Talk AAC this year, which is a professional development training series. Today's is the first one. Online, we have Tech Connection, which is our social and life skills groups for ages 14 and above. And we have a lot of information and resources on assistive technology. We have a assistive technology focused e-newsletter. Tech Tidbits goes out once a month. If you're not receiving it and would like to receive it, visit the website listed on the slide. Plug in your name, email address, and you start receiving it the following month. And feel free to contact us if you're looking for specific assistive technology. If you have questions or concerns regarding assistive technology, you can contact Laura or myself.
All right, let's jump into it. Got all the housekeeping rules out of the way. The only thing missing is we used to tell you where the bathrooms were.
No, actually, I did forget one thing. You will receive a copy of the entire presentation after the webinar. I will email you the handouts to the email address you used to register to today's presentation.
Yay. Thank you, Liz.
All right. Now the only thing left is the bathrooms are wherever they are in your home, right? Assistive technology versus augmentative and alternative communication. We think this is a great place to start with giving out definitions, because a lot of people sometimes interchange these two terms, but they really are different. So you have in front of you the federal definition of what an assistive technology device is. It's wordy: any item, piece of equipment or product or system, whether acquired commercially or off the shelf, modified or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capability. It's a mouthful. What I think I want to emphasize is just remember that it's any item that's going to improve functional capabilities is considered assistive technology. Under the umbrella of assistive technology falls 5 specific areas. That's what's next. Physical, educational learning aids, communication, AAC, hearing, and vision are all separate categories that are part of assistive technology. So for physical, something like a wheelchair or a cane could be considered physical. Educational learning aids could be excuse me, software, a variety of things. Even a pencil grip could be considered an AT aid. We're going to spend the bulk of our time talking about communication, which is what we're here for, AAC, but then hearing and vision, just so you know, are also important areas of assistive technology. We think of glasses. You might not think of your glasses as being assistive technology, but it's an aid to help you in daily living, just like a hearing aid or other types of technology that can be used. Those are all specific forms of assistive technology tools. So what is AAC specifically? So AAC includes all forms of communication other than oral speech, using your natural voice that are used to express your needs, wants, and ideas, thoughts. We all use AAC. When we make our facial expressions, our gestures, symbols, all of those things, we'll break them down for you today, but we want you to just kind of keep the big picture in mind, that it is inclusive. Next slide, please. Here's some wonderful examples on the screen of different types of AAC, and we'll explore them more specifically today. But you see there's a woman, an expression that she's showing. That's AAC, using your facial expression, using your hands when you talk. The graphic in the top left shows a boy using sign language. He's signing more, but it can be high tech, as you see the device in the bottom lower right corner of the screen, or it could be something very simple as in the middle of the screen, someone pointing to pictures. They're all forms of augmentative and alternative communication. Some have voice output, some don't. AAC is the part of assistive technology that focuses on communication. It's an integrated group of components to enhance your overall communication. So it's going to be ever just one thing, your AAC system. It's going to be a combination of the different tools that you choose to use. AAC is not just a device that talks, but it's the broad spectrum. So a combination of things that we'll see. The pictures show an alphabet board, which looks really simple, but it can be a complex communication system, offering you a variety of ways to interact with individuals. And below is a picture of a Apple Watch that has a communication app on the watch. So you're getting a mobile communication system with voice output. An AAC system. The focus here is designing AAC systems. Excuse me, the design of an AAC system incorporates each individual's strength and needs. We can't say customization enough. You'll hear it a lot. It incorporates the individual's full communication abilities, and that might include speech. Sometimes a person thinks, oh, well, he or she can talk, so they don't need AAC, but they might not be able to communicate all of their needs through just natural speech. So your system is going to include, it could include speech as well as your gestures, your movements, your body language, as well as voice output communication. Any individual can use multiple modalities. We all do. You can't really see my whole body in posture, but I talk with my hands and I point and I use gestures, allowing for changes based on your context. We use different parts, different ways to communicate depending on where we are. A well-designed AAC system is flexible and adaptable. It allows for changes to vocabulary as needed over time, and it maximizes an individual's abilities to communicate. The graphic says one size fits all. Some of us love those types of clothing or different things, but for AAC, that is absolutely not the case. An AAC system must be customized. All communication is arrived, through the use of symbols. And a symbol is going to take the form of a word or a sound or a symbol or a gesture, whatever is used to communicate meaning. You see on the screen this octagon, a red octagon, and immediately your mind might say, oh, that's got to be the symbol for stop. And that's because we've been taught that, and we've associated the meaning of this icon to the word stop. Different symbols mean different things. On this slide, you're looking at a variety of different symbols, but they all have the same meaning. And this is a good illustration, we'll talk about it more later, of how important it is to have flexibility for your user and have user input in designing your system, because the symbol of the cross, the red cross at the bottom, might evoke different feelings for different people, but it's a symbol for help, just as each and every other symbol on the screen right now. They all symbolize help, but that meaning has to be taught. Okay.
So who uses, I'm going to jump in. So who uses AAC? Well, augmentative and alternative communication can be helpful for anyone unable to use speech in order to get their communication needs met. And this can include individuals with lots of different diagnoses, but really anything that can cause an individual to be unable to communicate his or her thoughts. So what are the prerequisite skills for AAC? There aren't any. So there are no definitive age, motor, or cognitive criteria for using AAC. And I'm going to demonstrate with the video.
Where do I have to go, Callaghan, to talk about the dish? Can you show me? You point and I'll turn the pages for you. Turn the page. Good boy. Categories. Well done. Descriptions. Let's find number 24. Here's descriptions. Looks. Is this the one you want or this one? Which one do you want? Looks. Good boy. 24K. $24K. Which one are you touching? Dirty. Is this dish dirty? Good boy. And what else can you tell me about it? Is there anything in it? It's all gone. The Vegemite sandwich is all gone. Good boy.
So I love this video for many reasons, but Culligan here is less than 3 years old in this video, and he's using the pod system, which can be quite complex, and he's got many motoric issues, you know, and then there's his young age, and he is really using that system to his, but you know, it's an amazing sight to see, but it's not surprising.
Wow.
So where do we use AAC? Well, everywhere, ideally everywhere. You need to use your voice every day across every setting you go to, and the same should be said for AAC. So I just put some different examples here of different, a device and some different boards, but you need to be able to communicate when it comes to your health, when it comes to even going to the bathroom or eating food. Users should be able to communicate all their thoughts, not just pick, you know, yes or no. Need to be able to use, have their system, whatever their system is, ready so that they can tell you what they want or need or make a comment. So their AAC system might look different depending on the situation. So there's an iPad here, and that might be the user's go-to AAC device, but we're in swim therapy or in the pool, you might want to use something else that doesn't get wet. So a few ideas here. This is a word board here in a baggie. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in a big Ziploc bag, and then it's taped to a kickboard for the pool. This is similar. This is a empty 2-liter soda bottle. And then you could possibly laminate, but he's pointing to the word more. But just to give you ideas, might not want to use your iPad in the pool. Here's another example. So he's got a food board here, a communication board on his fridge, and he's pointing to bread. In the kitchen, in the same situation, you could use your communication system, whatever it is, depending on whatever it is. And here's 2 different systems. An idea for in the shower. We've had several preteens and teens, parents come to us with wanting ideas for showering, you know, a checklist. So maybe you have a kiddo that independently showers, but maybe they have trouble remembering the steps, like shampooing their hair, forgetting to rinse it out. Or we had one kiddo that did all his showering and would get out of the shower and forget to dry off and try to put on wet clothes. So this is just a simple idea. Instead of using your communication device, you could print out and laminate a board from the same system and hang it in the shower on a ring.
Kim mentioned also for work as well, some thing boards for work and going to the doctor.
Absolutely.
You type that in.
Yeah. So why use AAC? Well, there's many reasons, when we're talking about, excuse me?
I just said it's amazing.
It is amazing. It not only allows for functional communication, but it does promote speech development, language development, improved behavior. Of course, behavior is going to be improved if you're able to communicate your thoughts, social interaction, literacy skills, and ultimately independence. And all these things, if we're talking about a student, then allows that student to access the curriculum as well. And there's I have a source on the bottom, Practical AAC. They have some great resources.
What type of responses are we looking for? And we really like this graphic one because it's colorful, and AAC users need to access colorful language. Well, what they're talking about is AAC users or speakers need to be able to use their language for a variety of functions. When we talk as natural speakers, we say whatever we want to say whenever we want to say it. And there's always a purpose. Hopefully, there's always a purpose behind your words. So we've listed here on the screen some of the most common functions for using your language. They're listed here on the left margin: requesting, social interaction, because we like to talk with people, commenting, protesting, participating in anything. Those are reasons why we use our language. And there's other ones too, but this graphic really just gives us a nice example of some of the many ways that people, or reasons specifically, why we need to use our communication systems. And this is what we want. We do it naturally, and this is what we want from our AAC speakers as well, to be able to do these things.
Absolutely.
The goal of AAC, this is just it. I kind of said it a minute ago, but Snug is the acronym that we use: Spontaneous Novel Utterance Generation. And basically that means I can say whatever I want to say, whenever I want to say it, to whomever I want to say it. I love this picture. She's thinking, oh, what I want to say is not here. And there's nothing more frustrating, I think, for a user probably. And we'll find out when we get to the last workshop, right? The experts will tell us. But when you have a program system, but what you want to say is not there. We'll talk more later about the pros and cons of different types of how you determine vocabulary to go into a person's system. But ultimately, we want to give them Snug.
That's right. And I just wanted to add, when I put this picture together, this cute little girl, I noticed a lot of her choices were just nouns. Well, we don't speak with nouns. That would be silly. I walk up and say cat, dog, horse. Doesn't make sense. So I guess we'll get into that in a little bit.
How people communicate. So communication, the act of expressing, right, ideals and thoughts or knowledge in a way that as well as understanding, goes both ways. That's what communication is. But the graphic here tells us very clearly that in terms of communication, 65% of all of our communication really is nonverbal. That's your expressions, your voice, your movement, what you're doing with your eyes and your posture and your gestures. Verbal communication is only the spoken word, while your nonverbal communication involves basically everything else. So if you think of this graphic is important because we want you to realize how important the nonverbal piece is. But then you think about many of our AAC speakers, this nonverbal portion is quite often the hardest part for them. But yet research tells us that's where we get most of our information from. So there's a lot of implications for what's important for vocabulary selection, as well as other things that we need to be teaching with teaching strategies in addition to just speech output.
Well, my mouse, I'm sorry, guys. There we go.
Okay. So,
and augmentative alternative communication is broken into 4 areas, which is no-tech, low-tech, mid-tech, and high-tech. With the no-tech, like Bernadette mentioned earlier, we have everything we do with our body, our gestures, all of our nonverbal responses, yes and no responses. And this is how we communicate almost every day. There's also the facial expression and the body language.
Boy, that's clear body language, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's telling us something. Yeah, I'm not sure I would want to hear it in words. I'm glad she's just using her body, because she was like, I don't know what words that might match up to.
Not having it.
But it's clear. It's clear.
And Laura's going to show us a video. It is important to ask lots of questions and not assume that you know what someone is trying to say.
While that's queuing up, I'll just comment that his expression right there, his nonverbal.
What can I get started for you today?
Go ahead.
I was going to say it says a lot, and we actually, there are times when it's appropriate to work on actually teaching those skills to AAC speakers.
What can I get started for you today?
Express yourself.
What size? All right, 3 venti lattes. Would you care for a pastry? Nope.
You don't
Mocha. 3 mocha lattes. Oof. Double chocolate chip muffin. Yum.
express yourself.
You want 3 Paul McCartney CDs. Awesome. You know, I love the Beatles. They are my life. So American.
Whatever you do.
Assassination. Abraham Lincoln. You, me, gun, shoot. 3 shots. I know, I'm a little slurred today. All right, so 3 lattes, 3 mochas, double chocolate chip muffin, and 3 shots. No assassinations. Oh, and 3 Paul McCartney CDs. That's gonna be 6812.
I love that video.
Yeah. And you know, that happens. Sometimes our communicators are just like, okay, fine, whatever.
And that shouldn't
They
be
just
the
give
case.
up. Yeah. No, it shouldn't.
All right, Liz.
Sorry. For Lowtech, we have all of our communication aids are defined as those that do not require batteries, that we don't have to charge all of the electronic devices. These are basically different boards, different templates, anything that it's printed. So Lowtech means no batteries. You can easily create these by placing letters, words, phrases, pictures, and or symbols on a board, on a book, which may be accessed. Some examples are letter boards, theme boards, choice boards, topic boards, communication flipboards, communication bracelet, the PEX, which is a picture exchange communication system, and the pod. The pod is a system that you saw in the video with the three-year-old earlier today.
Yeah.
2.5.
2.5.
So depending, theme boards are important because sometimes you don't, depending on the system that the student is using, the individual is using, they might not have all the vocabulary that they might require with a specific activity that they're doing. So you can create theme boards for specific activities. So they'll have that there and then for them to be able to communicate their needs and wants at that point.
And then I have a video.
Can I make a comment real quick? Do we have time?
Of course.
I just wanted to point out, because a lot of times we show a lot of our symbol-based low-tech symbols. On that first slide, the previous slide, it had all letters and numbers. And I just want to point out that low-tech doesn't always have to be simple. Sometimes people think, you know, early cognition for low-tech. But a board like this, I've seen adults with full language need to use boards like this. And it's actually more complicated than it looks, because you have to be able to coordinate. So if I wanted to tell someone cat, I'd have to say number 1 and number 5, and then number 1 and number 1, and then number 4 and number 3. So just being able to utilize a vocabulary, just because it's a light tech board, there's no batteries, but doesn't mean that it's necessarily simple or for someone that's cognitively low. Just easy. Sometimes we think it's light tech, so it's got to be really basic, simple for function, and that's not the case all the time.
Things better, please.
Okay, this is a quick video of a kiddo using the PEC system. And I like this video because it's very realistic. This is life.
Thank you. Much better. Hey, what did you want? I want soda. Okay. All right, you got 3 sips, buddy. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right, let's talk some more about your day.
Okay, that's just to give you an idea of the PEC system, just really quick. And of course, we'll get in more into these things in our upcoming workshops. We just want to give you an idea of what's out there. And Kim says when she goes out for coffee, she usually points to what she wants, which is that's a great option. Okay, Liz.
And here you have a list of the Lowtech resources. There's 2 sections. There's the Lowtech AAC vendors. There's also free AAC supports, different websites where you could go and download or print your own. And with some, I believe you can customize yourself.
Yeah.
With the mid-tech, we typically have devices that require batteries and minimal training to program. They may, depending on the mid-tech device, some might have multiple levels, and which help to increase the function compared to the low and the no-tech devices. And these devices also have voice output, which is digitized, which is a recorded speech, versus a synthesized computerized speech. So with mid-tech, we have digitized. You will record your messages on each of these devices. You have to do your own printouts for these devices. And here are some examples. There's single hit switch with voice output. There's single level dedicated devices, multi-level static display devices, and talking photo albums. One that it's on here on the right side, the Cheap Talk. You have 4 options, 4 buttons. You can easily replace each image on each button, but every time you replace it, you have to record either the entire phrase, and it's up to you on if you want to record by if there's an apple, if you just want to say apple, or if you want to record the full message, I want an apple, or I want an apple, please. The other device on here is a GoTalk 9 by the Taman Company. This is a 5-level device, meaning that you can have 5 pre-recorded templates. You just have to make sure you have the correct template on the correct level, and they'll be able to use it. It's easily to record. Same, you have to record it yourself. With the GoTalks, the buttons on the top are the same throughout the 5 levels.
Do you want me to show the video?
Yes, please.
Okay. And while I'm queuing up the video, the thing I really like about mid-tech or devices where you record your own voice is you can record in any language.
This is the GoTalk 20 Plus augmentative and alternative communication device. A simple yet very helpful device. Let me show you how it works. Let's start by turning the GoTalk around. On the back, you have an on and off switch, a record button, and an erase button. Turning it back over, you have your level switcher and your volume control. Using the level switcher, you can cycle between 5 pages of 25 recorded messages for a total of 125 pre-recorded messages. These are the volume buttons, volume up and volume down. To activate one of the pre-recorded messages, simply press on one of the large message squares on the keyguard.
Lunch.
The overlays are stored inside and slide in and out very easily. Pictures for overlays can be printed from offline, or words can simply be written on a piece of paper and slid inside. Record a new message, simply press the record button on the back of the device. A red light will shine on the front, telling you that it's in record mode. Switch to your level, then press on the speech blurb that you want to record on. Once it's pressed, the red light will begin flashing, letting you know that it's recording. Simply press the record button on the back again to finish the recording. The GoTalk is a great communication device for people who have limited speech, people who have had strokes, have autism, and many more.
Okay, so that's the GoTalk.
And here you have the resources for the mid-tech AAC vendors.
And all your handouts, the links are clickable, so it'll take you right to each
website.
To each website.
Okay, so the last static display, static versus dynamic display. Static displays are those which the symbols are changed manually. What we just saw in the video is considered a static display. So the graphic on the right-hand side is just the opposite, is dynamic display. Those dynamic displays are those on which the language symbols change automatically as part of the normal operating system. So I may be looking at 32 options, but when I touch a particular button, it can be programmed to take me to a whole nother page. So I really have an endless number of pages in the system compared to that of static. I usually say what you see is what you get with static. Dynamic, it's infinite.
That's good. That's a good one.
For HighTech Aids, they're typically, of course, they are electronic and they permit storage and retrieval of messages. Another terminology for this is SGD, speech generating devices. And that's the term that you hear most frequently when you're dealing with medical terms or insurance terms. That comes up a lot. And we'll talk about that later in terms of funding, why that's important. Voice output communication aids, or VOCAs, is also another term that you'll hear in relation to our more high-tech communication devices. You see on the screen a display of an iPad at the top with a communication app, which is obviously, we all know what iPads are, but it's a mainstream product that when it first came out, it wasn't for communication, but now it's used as a communication tool because of the apps that are available on it. Below it, we have dedicated devices. These are computerized systems that are made specifically for the purpose of communication and don't lend themselves for other activities directly, even though you can now, but they're not made for other activities. Everything's becoming crossover now. Dedicated communication devices with synthesized speech, computers with speech output, and even iPads and Android. So both tablets now are offering communication applications. So the graphics on the screen show us such a variety. We have a Nova Chat, which is made by Satillo. On the top right, we have another device made by Tobii Dynavox. The devices by Print Key Romic are on the bottom here, the bottom left, and the Accent, and that's Satillo there. I'm watching your mouse. I was trying to keep up with your mouse. Okay, and then there's an iPad with Proloco to go there in the bottom center. All look very different and are all high-tech examples. So it's nice to know there's a big variety.
I have 2 videos, Bernadette.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
right, here's our volume.
My shoulder. I hurt my shoulder. I want to watch Disney Channel. I want to watch Disney Channel. I am going to eat applesauce.
In that video, oh, you want to go ahead and do the other one?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say she shows a nice example of some of the built-in navigation and sentence generation features that are available within the Word Power set from the Word Power pages available from in the Touch Chat communication app.
My spaces. Word spaces. Actions.
9510. Sabrina.
Eat. My spaces. My food and drinks. Lunch. Spaghetti.
That smile. Yeah.
You want to tell everyone?
These are both really good examples of definitely different users that are good navigators, but also different layout options. So one is based on a little more core vocabulary. In the first example, you saw a lot of sentence building with single words. And in the second, you saw also good use of categories, but with some full phrases built in, as well as some sentence building skills. So dynamic display really does give us a lot of options for a variety of users, depending on the skills that they have. Do you want to? This is an example of AAC speakers. Both are our support individuals that are on our staff here for these grants. Both Kim and Carrie are going to give us a demonstration of how they use their AAC systems. And one is more of a text user and one uses more pre-programmed.
And they're both using Print Key Romic.
Yes, devices. Yes, the accent.
With Unity language. Sorry, letting people in still. Okay.
Hello. My name is Kim Vu-Long.
What happened, Ken? Did I stop it?
Why? I like my device is that I can speak to doctor. Hello.
Carrie Adamick. I'm going to demonstrate.
Sorry.
So Kim is using her single words that are part of her core vocabulary within her device. And she's using a single word at a time. Carrie has a tendency to do some pre-programming and do some spelling. And so you'll see in the video, I ask her about that.
My name is Carrie Adamick. I'm going to demonstrate on how I use my communication device through Unity 84 in spelling. Sometimes I do spell a lot because some words always are not in the Unity. Good thing I know how to spell.
Absolutely. So Carrie, tell us, what kind of music do you like?
The O L D I E S N the G O S P E L music, the oldies and the gospel music.
Ah, oldies and gospel. You can't go wrong with that. I'm right in there.
Okay, so we see that Carrie does a nice job she does a lot of spelling, and she told us why, because sometimes the words just aren't there. That goes back to what I had mentioned earlier, that those of us that are responsible for putting vocabulary in devices for individuals have a really daunting task. And her system is one that is considered one of the more robust systems for vocabulary. And even as an adult speaker, she still has to type to say the things exactly the way she wants to say them.
Yeah.
This is a list, a wonderful list of resources that we provide for you. So you can access the companies, the device vendors, to learn more about individual products. And then for communication apps, that's the list below of vendors that sell apps that are designed specifically for communication. Different platforms. I went blank there for a second, sorry.
That's okay. And I put these on here. Of course, the list is not exhaustive. I just put the probably more frequently or well-known device vendors and apps. And I just wanted to point out before I go to the next slide that a lot of the AAC device vendors, when you go to their website, like Print-Keromic or Talk to Me Technologies or Tobii Dynavox, they oftentimes have some great free resources on there, like printouts of boards and things like that. So I encourage you to take a look when you have time. Kim says she does spelling a lot too. Okay, so how do we get an AAC system? I think we had a question in the chat if these were available for free. That's a loaded question. So I'm going to go through this, and then Bernadette, feel free to jump in. So when we talk about an AAC system, I say, how can we get an AAC system? But the absolutely most important thing is to get an AAC assessment done for your child, yourself, your student, whoever the communicator is, because there are so many different types of systems out there, different devices, different language systems. You also have to take physical and motor planning into effect. There's a lot of things that go into an AAC assessment, which Bernadette, I'm sure, can attest to. So getting an AAC system, I listed a few of the places you can go. First place, if you have a kiddo that's in school that has an IEP and they have a speech disability, you can request an AAC assessment in writing. And if you need help with that, feel free to email us. All three of our emails are on the last slide. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Next, and with the school system, they have to see it as an educational necessity. So that's a good buzzword there, because it is important. It is necessary. Another route is insurance or Medicaid. Sorry, every time I click admit, I'm scared I'm going to advance the slide. So insurance or Medicaid, it's a medical necessity. So to go through insurance, you're going to contact your insurance company, request their policy on durable medical equipment. And then a doctor or a speech language pathologist may need to complete that request. And then the assessment will be done through insurance by a speech language pathologist. Hopefully one that is an expert in AAC like Bernadette. Do you have anything to add to those two, Bernadette, before I go on to voice options? Sorry.
No, you hit on the most important thing, having an assessment and just being mindful that there are a variety of options. Some people get a little discouraged at first, they might. And also I want to say, follow your gut, because sometimes your doctor might say, no, doctors aren't always the first ones to tell you when it's time to look into getting an AAC assessment. So I want to say what as a parent or a professional, what your gut is telling you, and pursue what needs to be done, pursue getting an assessment, even if it can't be insurance. As you have listed there are other agencies that are helpful in covering the cost.
One I wanted to tell you about is Department of Rehab has the voice options program now. We did it for a couple of years back, and it's a wonderful program. If you go to their website, let's see if it'll just take me really quick to their website so I can kind of show you while I'm waiting. The voice options program is unique in that it is designed, here we go, to get people with speech needs an iPad with one of 6 communication apps on it. So if you go to their website, it lists the apps that they offer.
There it is.
Go Talk Now, Lamp Words for Life, Predictable, Proloquo to Go, which is new to their grouping there, Proloquo for Text, and Touch Chat HD with word power. And so how their program works in a nutshell is you apply, you reach out to them, schedule a demonstration, you take the device home for a certain amount of time. There's a much shorter trial period now. It's 2 to 14 days. You try the different speech applications and come back and apply, and you can get a free iPad with one of the speech applications on it. So that is an option, especially for adults or for anyone really, but if somebody doesn't have access to insurance, or if they've aged out of the school system, maybe. There's regional center, but you do need to exhaust all other resources. And then of course, there's private pay, there's grants, there are equipment donations. Some of I call them animal clubs, the Elks, the Shriners, different places like that, Many, if you go to them and say, we're trying to fund a device for this individual, they will do fundraisers for you, or some of them will outright pay for them.
Yeah. I think the key thing I just want to add, Carrie mentioned it in the chat, is that you do want to inquire with your SLP if what their experience level is with AAC.
That is absolutely true. And you're allowed to ask, and you want to make sure you get someone, not all speech language pathologists understand or know AAC. So it's really important that you get someone who is very familiar with AAC. I personally recommend Bernadette, but.
You're kind, thank you.
Well, okay, so we saw the federal definition of an assistive technology device in the beginning of the webinar. Well, this is the second part of the definition. And so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act defines an assistive technology service as well. And so that's any service that directly assists a child with a disability in selecting, acquiring, or using an assistive technology device. So that includes the evaluation. I put that in bold because I think it's really, really important. That's a really important piece. So you get the right fit for the user. It also provides, defines that service as purchasing, leasing, or otherwise providing for the acquisition of that assistive technology device. Then selecting, designing, fitting, customizing, adapting, maintaining, repairing, or replacing that device. It also includes coordinating and using other therapies, interventions, or services with assistive technology devices. So that's your voice. You're going to take that AAC system everywhere. And then the bottom two, training or technical assistance for the child, the AAC user. You can't just sit a device in front of somebody and expect them to know how to use it. These symbols are their own language that you have to learn, just like any other language. Included in that training is the family of the child, and then also any professionals in their realm.
That's so important, and that's why it's bolded, because a lot of times families don't realize that they do have a right to get training and support. It's part of the funded service, and it's critical to avoid system abandonment in the future. So we'll talk more in the next workshops, but I'm glad that you bring that out, because we need to go in the mindset that it's not just one thing, but it's a package. All of these things are part of the assistive technology service.
I agree. And that device abandonment, we are going to talk in the next couple trainings about it, but that's a real thing. People get devices, they might not be the right fit for them, and they sit on a shelf. Or they might just march out this little device and only use it for a certain part of the day. That's not being able to get your thoughts, wants, needs, and opinions across. So it's really important that everyone is trained and knows how to use it or help. So I found this video on AAC etiquette and tips. Kim and Carrie both gave me some ideas as well. I think it's really important to think about that AAC user. I'm going to go ahead and show the video, and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's a good video.
Interacting with someone who uses AAC, it's important to have the same sense of camaraderie that you would have when you're interacting with anyone else. You can ask open-ended questions, you can make jokes, and have a good time. Just because their mode of communication is different doesn't mean your interactions have to be.
Remember to treat them with respect. Ask before you touch their device or look over their shoulder as they're typing. This form of communication is just as personal to them as your speech is to you. Additionally, don't ask them to perform by asking them to say certain words or asking them questions just so you can watch them use their device.
And just remember, when you're communicating with someone with an AAC device, don't pretend that there is no difference between their device, and your speech. It's okay to acknowledge the difference.
Assume that the individual that's using AAC is intelligent and they can hear you. You can demonstrate this by using regular normal speech. You don't need to talk louder or slower and use regular language unless the person asks you to do otherwise.
Have patience and allow wait time when interacting with someone who uses AAC. Try to take turns and say a short amount at a time and then wait for your communication partner to respond. Be careful about interrupting too. Ask before assuming your communication partner wants you to finish their sentences.
Try not to talk about more than one idea at a time, and don't fill silences while waiting for your communication partner to respond. Everyone communicates differently, and that's something to celebrate.
Yeah.
I included links to all of the videos on your handouts, except for Carrie and Kim's, but because I think they're really important. And all these tips were super important. And I think it's really, really crucial to make sure that you're respecting the individual that's in any form of communication that they're using, and just wait, let them finish what they're trying to say. Okay, we're going to answer questions in a few minutes, but first I'm going to ask you to fill out our workshop evaluation form, and please make sure to put your email address in on the SurveyMonkey so that we can include you in a $50 gift card drawing. And then if there are questions on the survey that don't pertain to this webinar, you can just skip them or put NA. And I think Liz put the link in the chat. Yes, she did. And I'm going to flip and show you our contact info, which you will be getting in case you joined late. Liz will be sending out copies of the handouts to everyone who attended. But this is all our contact information. And I do want to let you know that we post all of our webinars on YouTube. So if there was someone who couldn't get to this training today, or if there's other trainings that you can't get to, they're always posted on YouTube within about a week. So I'm going to go ahead and have Liz stop recording, and then we can answer some questions if you like.